Now read this.
Hello, and welcome back to Now Read This, the story of King Arthur and his knights by Howard Pyle. Chapter 5th. How Sir Gawain met Sir Pelleas, and how he promised to aid him with the Lady Ettard. Now, after that wonderful lady had disappeared from their sight in that manner, those three knights stood for a little while altogether astonished, for they wist not how to believe what their eyes had beheld. Then, by and by, Sir Gawain spake, saying, "Certes, that was a very wonderful thing that happened to us, for in all my life I never knew so strange a miracle to befall. Now, it is very plain that some excellent adventure lieth in what we have seen, wherefore let us descend into yonder valley, for there we shall doubtless discover what that signifies which we have just now beheld. For I make my vow that I have hardly ever seen so terribly powerful a knight as he who has just now fought yonder battle, wherefore I can in no wise understand why, when he should so nearly have obtained a victory over his enemies, he should have surrendered himself to them as he did." And Sir Ewain and Sir Marhaus agreed that it would be well to go down and inquire what was the meaning of that which they had beheld. So they three and their attendants rode down into the valley, and they rode forward until they had come to a certain glade of trees, and there they beheld three goodly pavilions that stood there, the one pavilion of white cloth, the second pavilion of green cloth, and the third pavilion of scarlet cloth. Now as the three knights' companions drew nigh to the pavilions, there came forward two knights to meet them, and when Sir Gawain and Sir Ewain saw the shields of the two, they immediately knew that they were Sir Brandiles and Sir Mador de la Porte. And in the same manner, Sir Brandiles and Sir Mador de la Porte knew Sir Gawain and Sir Ewain, and each party was very much astonished at thus meeting the other in so strange a place. So when they came together, they gave one another very joyful greeting, and clasped hands with strong love and good fellowship. Then Sir Gawain made Sir Marhaus acquainted with Sir Brandiles and Sir Mador de la Porte, and thereupon the five knights all went together into those three pavilions, discoursing the while with great amity and pleasure. And when they had come into the pavilion of Sir Brandiles, they found there spread a good refreshment of white bread and wine of excellent savour. Then, after a while, Sir Gawain said to Sir Brandiles and Sir Mador de la Porte, "Messires, we observed a little while ago a very singular thing, for as we stood together at the top of yonder hill and looked down into this plain, we beheld a single knight, clad all in red armour, who did battle with 10 knights, and that one knight in red armour combated the 10 with such fury that he drave them all from before him, though they were so many and he but one. And truly I make my vow that I have hardly ever seen a knight show such great prowess in arms as he. Yet, when he had overcome all but 2 of those knights, and was in a fair way to win a clear victory, he suddenly yielded himself unto the 2, and suffered them to take him, and bind him, and drive him with great indignity from the field. Now I pray ye, tell me what was the meaning of that which we beheld, and who was that knight who fought so great a battle, and yet yielded himself so shamefully?" At this, Sir Brandiles and Sir Mador de la Porte made no answer, but directed their looks another way, for they knew not what to say. But when Sir Gawain beheld that they were abashed, he began more than ever to wonder what that thing meant. Wherefore he said, "What is this? Why do ye not answer me? I bid ye tell me what is the meaning of your looks, and who is that red knight?" Then, after a while, Sir Mador de la Porte said, "I shall not tell you, but you may come and see." Then Sir Gawain began to think maybe there was something in this that it would be better not to publish, and that, haply, he had best examine further into the matter alone. So he said unto the other knights, "Bide ye here a little, messires, and I will go with Sir Mador de la Porte." So Sir Gawain went with Mador de la Porte, and Sir Mador led him unto the white pavilion. And when they had come there, Sir Mador drew aside the curtains of the pavilion, and he said, "Enter." And Sir Gawain entered. Now when he had come into the pavilion, he perceived that a man sat upon a couch of rushes covered with an azure cloth, and in a little he perceived that man was Sir Pellias. But Sir Pellias saw not him immediately, but sat with his head bowed, like one altogether overwhelmed by a great despair. But when Sir Gawain beheld who it was that sat upon the couch, he was greatly amazed, and cried out, "Ha! Is it thou, Sir Pellias? Is it thou?" But when Sir Pellias heard Sir Gawain's voice, and when he perceived who it was that spake to him, he emitted an exceedingly bitter cry, and sprang to his feet, and ran as far away as the walls of the pavilion would let him, and turned his face unto the walls thereof. Then, after a while, Sir Gawain spoke very sternly to Sir Pellias, saying, "Messire, I am astonished, and very greatly ashamed that a knight of King Arthur's royal court and his round table should behave in so dishonourable a manner, as I saw thee behave this day. For it is hardly to be believed that a knight of such repute and nobility as thou would suffer himself to be taken and bound by two obscure knights, as thou didst suffer thyself this day. How couldst thou bring thyself to submit to such indignity and insult? Now I do demand of thee that thou wilt explain this matter unto me." But Sir Pellias was silent, and would not make any reply. Then Sir Gawain cried out very fiercely, "Ha! Wilt thou not answer me?" And Sir Pellias shook his head. Then Sir Gawain said, still speaking very fiercely, "Messire, thou shalt answer me one way or another, for either thou shalt tell me the meaning of thy shameful conduct, or else thou shalt do extreme battle with me, for I will not suffer it, that thou shalt bring such shame upon King Arthur and his round table, without myself defending the honour and the credit of him and of it. One, while thou and I were dear friends, but unless thou dost immediately exculpate thyself, I shall hold thee in contempt, and shall regard thee as an enemy." Upon this Sir Pellias spake like unto one that was nigh distracted, and he said, "I will tell thee all." Then he confessed everything unto Sir Gawain, telling all that had befallen since that time when he had left the May court of Queen Guinevere to enter upon this adventure, and Sir Gawain listened unto him with great amazement. And when Sir Pellias had made an ending of telling all that had befallen him, Sir Gawain said, "Certes, this is very wonderful. Indeed, I cannot understand how thou camest to be so entangled in the charms of this lady, unless she hath bewitched thee with some great enchantment." Unto this Sir Pellias said, "Yea, I believe that I have been bewitched, for I am altogether beside myself in this, and am entirely unable to contain my passion." Then Sir Gawain bethought him for a long while, considering that matter very seriously, and by he said, "I have a plan, and it is this. I will go unto the Lady Ettard myself, and will inquire diligently into this affair, and if I find that anyone hath entangled thee in enchantments, it will go hard with me, but I will punish that one with great dolour. For I shall not have it that another enchanter shall beguile thee, as one hath already beguiled Merlin the Wise." Then Sir Pellias said unto Sir Gawain, "How wilt thou accomplish this matter, so as to gain into the presence of the Lady Ettard?" Thereupon Sir Gawain replied, "That I will tell thee. We twain shall exchange armour, and I will go unto the castle in thy armour. When I have come there, I shall say that I have overcome thee in an encounter, and have taken thine armour away from thee. Then they will happily admit me into the castle to hear my story, and I shall have speech with her." Then Sir Pellias said, "Very well, it shall be as thou dost ordain." So Sir Pellias summoned an esquire, and Sir Gawain summoned his esquire, and those two removed the armour from Sir Pellias, and clad Sir Gawain therein. After they had done that, Sir Gawain mounted upon the horse of Sir Pellias, and rode openly unto the field wherein Sir Pellias had aforetime paraded. Now it happened that the Lady Ettard was at that time walking down upon the platform within the castle walls, from which place she looked down into the meadow. So when she beheld a red knight parading in the meadow, she thought it was Sir Pellias come thither again, and at that she was vexed and affronted beyond all measure. Wherefore she said unto those nigh her, That knight vexes me so woefully, that I fear me I shall fall ill of vexation if he cometh here many more times. I would that I knew how to rid myself of him, for already and only an hour ago I sent 10 good knights against him, and he overcame them all with great dispatch and with much dishonour unto them and unto me. So she beckoned to the Red Knight, and when he had come nigh to the walls of the castle, she said to him, Sir Knight, why dost thou come hitherward to afflict me and to affront me thus? Canst thou not understand that the more often thou comest to tease me in this manner, the more do I hate thee? Then Sir Gawain opened the umbril of his helmet, and showed his face, and the Lady Ettard saw that the Red Knight was not Sir Pelleas. And Sir Gawain said, Lady, I am not the one whom thou supposest me to be, but another. For behold, I have thine enemy's armour upon my body, wherefore thou mayst see that I have overcome him. For thou mayst suppose that it is hardly to be thought that I could wear his armour unless I took it from him by force of arms. Wherefore thou needst trouble thyself no more about him. Then the Lady Ettard could not think otherwise than this knight, whom she knew not, had indeed overthrown Sir Pelleas in a bout of arms, and had taken his armour away from him. And indeed she was exceedingly astonished that such a thing could have happened, for it appeared to her that Sir Pelleas was one of the greatest knights in the world, wherefore she marvelled who this knight could be who had overthrown him in battle. So she gave command to sundry of those in attendance upon her that they should go forth and bring that Red Knight into the castle, and that they should pay him great honour, for that he must assuredly be one of the very greatest champions in the world. Thus Sir Gawain came into the castle, and was brought before the Lady Ettard, where she stood in a wonderfully large and noble hall. For that hall was illuminated by 7 tall windows of coloured glass, and it was hung around with tapestries and hangings, very rich and of a most excellent quality. Wherefore Sir Gawain was greatly astonished at the magnificence of all that he beheld in that place. Now Sir Gawain had taken the helmet from off of his head, and he bore it under his arm and against his hip, and his head was bare, so that all who were there could see his face very plainly. Wherefore they all perceived that he was exceedingly comely, that his eyes were as blue as steel, his nose high and curved, and his hair and beard very dark and rich in colour. Moreover, his bearing was exceedingly steadfast and haughty, so that those who beheld him were awed by the great knightliness of his aspect. Then the Lady Ettard came to Sir Gawain, and gave him her hand, and he kneeled down, and set it to his lips. And the lady bespoke him very graciously, saying, Sir Knight, it would give me a great deal of pleasure if thou wouldst make us acquainted with thy name, and if thou wouldst proclaim thy degree of estate unto us. Unto this Sir Gawain made reply, Lady, I cannot inform you of these things at this present, being just now vowed unto secrecy upon those points, wherefore I do crave your patience for a little. Then the Lady Ettard said, Sir Knight, it is a great pity that we may not know thy name and degree. Nevertheless, though we are as yet in ignorance as to thy quality, I yet hope that thou wilt give us the pleasure of thy company a while, and that thou wilt condescend to remain within this poor place for 2 days or 3, whiles we offer thee such refreshment as we are able to do. Now here a very untoward thing befell, to wit, it was this. The Lady Ettard had come to love that necklace of emeralds and of opal stones and of gold that she had borrowed from Sir Pelleas, and that to such a degree that she never let it depart from her, whether by day or by night. Wherefore she wore it at that moment hanging about her neck and her throat. So, as she talked to Sir Gawain, he looked upon that necklace, and the enchantment thereof began to take a very great hold upon him. For he presently began to feel as though his heart was drawn with exceeding ardency out of his bosom and unto the Lady Ettard, so much so that in a little while he could not at all keep his regard withdrawn from her. And the more that he looked upon the necklace and the lady, the more did the enchantment of the jewel take hold upon his spirits. Accordingly, when the Lady Ettard spake so graciously unto him, he was very glad to accept of her kindness. Wherefore he said, gazing very ardently at her the whiles, Lady, thou art exceedingly gentle to extend so great a courtesy unto me. Wherefore I shall be glad beyond measure for to stay with thee for a short while. At these words, the Lady Ettard was very greatly pleased, for she said to herself, Certes, this knight, albeit I know not who he may be, must be a champion of extraordinary prowess and of exalted achievement. Now if I can persuade him to remain in this castle as my champion, then shall I doubtless gain very great credit thereby, for I shall have one for to defend my rights, who must assuredly be the greatest knight in all the world. Wherefore she set forth every charm and grace of demeanour to please Sir Gawain, and Sir Gawain was altogether delighted by the kindness of her manner. Now Sir Engamore was there present at this time, wherefore he was very greatly troubled in spirit. For in the same degree that Sir Gawain received courtesy from the Lady Ettard, in that same degree Sir Engamore was cast down into great sorrow and distress, so much so that it was a pity for to see him. For Sir Engamore said to himself, Aforetime, ere these foreign knights came hitherward, the Lady Ettard was very kind to me, and was willing to take me for her champion and lord. But first came Sir Pelleas, and overthrew me, and now cometh this strange knight, and overthroweth him. Wherefore, in the presence of such great champions as this, I am come to be as nothing in her sight. So Sir Engamore withdrew himself from that place, and went unto his closet, where he sat himself down alone, in great sorrow. Now the Lady Ettard had given command that a very noble and splendid feast should be prepared for Sir Gawain and for herself, and whilst it was preparing, she and Sir Gawain walked together in the pleasaunce of the castle, for there was a very pleasant shade in the place, and the flowers grew there in great abundance, and many birds sang very sweetly in among the blossoms of the trees. And as Sir Gawain and the lady walked thus together, the attendants stood at a little distance and regarded them, and they said to one another, Assuredly, it would be a very good thing if the Lady Ettard would take this knight for her champion, and if he should stay here in Grantsmennel for ever. So Sir Gawain and the lady walked together, talking very cheerfully until sunset, and at that time the supper was prepared, and they went in and sat down to it. And as they supped, a number of pages very fair of face played upon harps before them, and sundry damsels sang very sweetly in accord to that music, so that the bosom of Sir Gawain was greatly expanded with joy. Wherefore he said to himself, Why should I ever leave this place? Lo, I have been banished from King Arthur's court. Why then should I not establish here a court of mine own that might, in time, prove to be like to his for glory? And the Lady Ettard was so beautiful in his eyes that this seemed to him to be a wonderfully pleasant thought. Now turn we unto Sir Pelleas. For after Sir Gawain had left him, the heart of Sir Pelleas began to misgive him that he had not been wise, and at last he said to himself, Suppose that Sir Gawain should forget his duty to me when he meeteth the Lady Ettard, for it seems that haply she possesses some potent charm that might well draw the heart of Sir Gawain unto her. Wherefore, if Sir Gawain should come within the circle of such enchantment as that, he may forget his duty unto me, and may transgress against the honour of his knighthood. And the more that Sir Pelleas thought this, the more troubled he grew in his mind. So at last, when evening had fallen, he called an esquire unto him, and said, Go and fetch me hither the garb of a black friar, for I would fain go unto the castle of Grantsmennel in disguise. Then the esquire went as he commanded, and brought him such a garb, and Sir Pelleas clad himself therein. Now by that time the darkness had come entirely over the face of the earth, so that it would not have been possible for anyone to know Sir Pelleas, even if they had seen his face. So he went unto the castle, and they who were there, thinking that he was a black friar, as he appeared to be, admitted him into the castle by the postern gate. So, as soon as Sir Pelleas had come into the castle, he began to make diligent inquiry concerning where he might find that knight who had come thither in the afternoon. And those within the castle, still thinking him to be friar of black orders, said unto him, What would ye with that knight? To the which Sir Pellias said, I have a message for him. They of the castle said, Ye cannot come at that knight just now, for he is at supper with the Lady Ettard, and he holds her in pleasant discourse. At this Sir Pellias began to wax very angry, for he greatly misliked the thought that Sir Gawain should then make merry with the Lady Ettard. So he said, speaking very sternly, I must presently have speech with that knight, wherefore I bid ye to bring me unto him without delay. Then they of the castle said, Wait, and we will see if that knight is willing to have you come to him. So one of the attendants went unto the place where Sir Gawain sat at supper with the Lady Ettard, and he said, Sir knight, there hath come hither a black friar, who demandeth to have present speech with thee, and he will not be denied, but continually maketh that demand. At this Sir Gawain was greatly troubled in his conscience, for he knew that he was not dealing honourably by Sir Pellias, and he pondered whether or not this black friar might be a messenger from his friend. But yet he could not see how he might deny such a messenger speech with him. So after a while of thought, he said, Fetch the black friar hither, and let him deliver his message to me. So Sir Pellias, in the garb of a black friar, was brought by the attendants into the outer room of that place where Sir Gawain sat at supper with the lady. But for a little time Sir Pellias did not enter the room, but stood behind the curtain of the anteroom and looked upon them, for he desired to make sure as to whether or no Sir Gawain was true to him. Now everything in that room where the knight and the lady sat was bedight with extraordinary splendour, and it was illuminated by a light of several score of waxen tapers that sent forth a most delightful perfume as they burned. Yet as Sir Pellias stood behind the curtains, he beheld Sir Gawain and the Lady Ettard as they sat at the table together, and he saw that they were filled with pleasure in the company of one another. And he saw that Sir Gawain and the lady quaffed wine out of the same chalice, and that the cup was of gold. And and as he saw those two making merry with one another, he was filled with great anger and indignation, for he now perceived that Sir Gawain had betrayed him. So, by and by, he could contain himself no longer, wherefore he took 5 steps into that room, and stood before Sir Gawain and the Lady Ettard, and when they looked upon him in great surprise, he cast back the hood from his face, and they knew him. Then the Lady Ettard shrieked with great vehemence, crying out, I have been betrayed! And Sir Gawain sat altogether silent, for he had not a single word to say either to the lady or to Sir Pellias. Then Sir Pellias came close to the Lady Ettard with such a countenance that she could not move for fear. And when he had come nigh to her, he catched that necklace of emeralds and opal stones and gold with such violence that he brake the clasp thereof, and so plucked it from her neck. Then he said, This is mine, and thou hast no right to it. And therewith he thrust it into his bosom. Then he turned upon Sir Gawain where he sat, and he said, Thou art false, both unto thy knighthood and unto thy friendship, for thou hast betrayed me utterly. Therefore he raised his arm and smote Sir Gawain upon the face with the back of his hand so violently that the mark of his fingers was left in red all across the cheek of Sir Gawain. Then Sir Gawain fell as pale as ashes, and he cried out, Sir, I have in sooth betrayed thee, but thou hast offered such affront to me that our injury is equal. To the which Sir Pellias made reply, Not so, for the injury I gave to thee is only upon thy cheek, but the injury thou gavest to me is upon my heart. Nevertheless, I will answer unto thee for the affront I have done thee, but thou also shalt answer unto me for the offence thou hast done unto me, in that thou hast betrayed me. Then Sir Gawain said, I am willing to answer unto thee in full measure. And Sir Pellias said, Thou shalt indeed do so. Thereupon he turned and left that place, nor did he so much as look again either at Sir Gawain or at the Lady Ettard. But now that the Lady Ettard no longer had the magic collar about her neck, Sir Gawain felt nothing of the great enchantment that had aforetime drawn him so vehemently unto her. Accordingly he now suffered a misliking for her, as great as the liking which had aforetime drawn him unto her. Wherefore he said to himself, "How is it possible that for this lady I could have so betrayed my knighthood and have done so much harm unto my friend?" So he pushed back his chair very violently and arose from that table with intent to leave her. But when the Lady Ettarde saw his intent, she spake to him with very great anger, for she was very much affronted in that he had deceived her when he had said that he had overcome Sir Pelleas. Wherefore she said with great heat, "Thou mayst go, and I am very willing for to have thee do so, for thou didst say false when thou didst tell me that thou hadst overcome Sir Pelleas. For now I perceive that he is both stronger and a nobler knight than thou, for he smote thee as though thou wert his servant, and thou yet bearest the marks of his fingers upon thy cheek." At this Sir Gawain was exceedingly wroth, and entirely filled with the shame of that which had befallen him. Wherefore he said, "Lady, I think thou hast bewitched me to bring me to such a pass of dishonour. As for Sir Pelleas, look forth into that meadow tomorrow, and see if I do not put a deeper mark upon him than ever he hath put upon me." Thereupon he left that place, and went down into the courtyard, and called upon the attendants who were there for to fetch him his horse. So they did as he commanded, and he straightway rode forth into the night. And he was very glad of the darkness of the night, for it appeared to him that it was easier to bear his shame in the darkness. Wherefore, when he had come to the glade of trees, he would not enter the pavilion where his friends were. And also, when Sir Ewain and Sir Marhaus came out unto him and bade him for to come in, he would not do so, but stayed without in the darkness. For he said unto himself, "If I go in where there is a light, haply they will behold the marks of Sir Pelleas, his hand upon my face." So he stayed without in the darkness, and bade them to go away, and leave him alone. But when they had gone, he called his esquire unto him, and he said, "Take this red armour off me, and carry it into the pavilion of Sir Pelleas, for I hate it." So the esquire did as Sir Gawain commanded, and Sir Gawain walked up and down for the entire night, greatly troubled in spirit and in heart.
Hey, you want to buy something? You can check the description for my books and audiobooks. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more content.